Okay, and we are live. Welcome to a new episode of All Things Xbox Podcast. Once again, I got Logan with me. Logan, how you doing this week?
I'm doing pretty good, Jamie. Doing pretty good. Got a new puppy and been really enjoying her and my other dog, and they've been just running around being, maniacs, and it's been a lot of fun. Tiring, but a lot of fun. And, lots of good gaming and sports and just life's good over here. How about you in the British Isles? What's going on over there?
I'm doing good. I'm doing a lot better. I mean, as people know, I've been with the bronchitis for 2 months. Uh, as you can hear, I'm still going through it, but I'm in the tail end now, which is good. Which reminded me, I have to read out this comment to the last podcast, and it said this. This is by Brandon Scott. Next week on All Things Xbox podcast, Logan is doing pretty good and Jamie still has bronchitis.
That's accurate.
Yeah, like literally
Congratulations.
nail on the head.
Yeah.
Man, that bronchitis stays. But hey, I'm getting on with it. It's been an interesting week. All around. I mean, in the US, you guys had the Super Bowl like 2 days ago, right?
Yes, on Sunday. It was a lot of fun if you weren't a Chiefs fan.
I can imagine. And there's been clips of a Spanish TV show going viral. I think it's called Temptation Island or something. Um, Whoever signs up to do those TV shows, they signing up for torture, basically. I don't know why someone would put themselves through that, but basically everyone, like gaming accounts, sports accounts, basically everyone was memeing this uh, this scene of this dude called Montoya, I think he was called. Absolutely,
Oh, is that the dude who ripped his
yeah,
shirt and like
yeah.
fell to his knee? I was wondering where that came from.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I can't exactly say live what was happening to make this person scream, but it's been an interesting week. Um, what can I say? You know, God. Again, I want to talk about it, but I can't because again, demonetization. But it's been a good week, and I've been watching the wrestling again. War, getting into the swing of things. My God, I have to say, back when I used to watch it 20 years ago, Raw used to be better than SmackDown almost every week. And I watched Raw last night live. I almost fell asleep. I've never been so bored in my entire life. Don't know what it was. Maybe it's because wrestling was more violent back when I used to watch it. There was like table matches and ladder matches and stuff. Hardcore
We
matches.
didn't know about CTE.
Yeah, and now it just seems very everyone's shaking hands after each match and stuff. It's like, no, I want to see blood. Right? Like, get out the barbed wire bat or something. Maybe they'll get to that eventually, but it's been fun. But that's all that talk out the way. Logan, it's been a long week. What have you been playing?
Oh yeah, I've been playing a mix of stuff. I've been wrapping up Indiana Jones. I'm towards the end of the Sukatan part where I'm at the giant chess game, basically, section, is where I'm at right now. Where you've got Uncle Sunan and his niece, and then some of the villagers, and then Gina help you basically recreate this Harry Potter chess scene,
Yeah,
but this game. And so that's where I'm at in that game. I've been playing, Power Wash Simulator. I've been playing a lot of Baldur's Gate 3. Like,
nice.
now that, I figured a workaround thanks to you offline, it's been a lot of fun, and I remember why I liked it so much. So it's going a lot faster now because I already put 40 hours in. I know what to do
Yeah.
to kind of get back to where I was. So been speeding through that, but as a different type of character. A lot of fun. Definitely recommend it. And with the caveat that I can't use mods or cloud or achievements or whatever. But as somebody who grew up on older consoles like you as well, like, it ain't a problem.
Yeah.
Like, as long as I can play it, I'm good. So In general, yeah, got that. There's a bunch of cool games coming out on sale. I've got Avowed Steelbook coming in, I think Thursday or Friday. I can't remember exactly what launch date is for, the early access. I think it was the 13th.
Yeah.
And so looking forward to that. And yeah, so that's been my gaming itinerary for lately. How about you, man? Did you go back to your blue people yet, or go tear across some spaceships, or what have you been doing?
I'm taking a long break from Avatar. I mean, look, I love that game. But there's only so many different times I can just run through these forests, like as a 9 foot tall alien. Like I'm giving it a break. But the thing is, I checked the percentage. I'm about 40% done with that game. I
Good grief!
Yeah, I got it for Christmas 2023, like, and I'm still playing it. Absolutely huge game. But I've been playing a lot of games. Metal Gear Solid 2 in the Master Collection. What can I say? Chef's kiss. That 4K patch has done wonders, absolute wonders. I think if you play it on the Series S, I think it's 1440p, so you're still getting a huge jump on what the HD collection was. But what can I say? Metal Gear Solid 2, it's timeless. Like, it's just so good. Although it gets to a point in the game where, and I'll try not to spoil it for people, the story gets real really quick. And they start talking about things that are really relevant today when it comes to like AI and stuff. Makes you think. But yeah, such a good game. I've also been playing Death Stranding. That game is just bizarre. I mean, I'm running around like this massive like open area looking for a camera, and like I was getting chased by a squid that was made of ink. It was, I don't know, it's all over the place. But again, I really enjoy that story. It's unique. What can I say? And oh yeah, what else have I been playing? Indiana Jones. I finished that a few weeks ago, but there's so many collectibles in that game. I have to keep taking breaks. The puzzles are great. I have one broken collectible item, but fortunately, they are putting a patch out this month, I think, that fixes all that stuff, which is really good. But yeah, gaming, it's been really good. There's also a snowboarding game that launched in Game Pass, I think like a week ago. I think it's called Lonely Mountains Snowboarder. Uh,
Oh yeah, I saw that.
yeah, super addictive. It's like isometric view. Um, you just you just snowboard down mountains. It's much like the mountain bike game they had, but it's a lot of fun. Highly recommend it. It's a small file as well. Oh, and Flight Simulator 2024. I am addicted to Flight Simulator. I'm currently trying to get into the top 10 best players in the world, and I'm playing with a controller. I'm basically playing against pilots, like real life pilots that have, hundreds, if not thousands of pounds worth of like actual physical gear for the, gaming setups. And let me tell you, trying to fly a Boeing jet with a controller is very difficult. Like, trying to land one of those things is one of the challenges. You have to land a 737 in a piece of runway that's only 400 feet long. Most difficult thing I've ever had to do in a game. But it's surprisingly fun. I mean, I've been enjoying Flight Simulator that much. Like, I'm actually considering going up and taking actual lessons. So
That'd be fun, man.
yeah, it's something I'm interested in, and knowing me, I'd get cocky and ruin it. But I mean, I wish. By the way, bit of a tangent. I really wish I could just like plug an Xbox controller into a car or into an airplane and just pilot or drive things that way. It's much more efficient. There's no need for all these handles and levers and stuff. Like, I'm not driving a vehicle from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang or Willy Wonka. A controller's fine. Everything has USB connectivity now. Why not vehicles? Just putting it out
Have
there.
you driven a car before?
Yeah.
Like, okay, I wasn't sure because I know some in Britain and some other places just don't because it's so crowded, or some of the streets aren't conducive to it and stuff, more narrow corridors. So I know a lot of people who just don't drive over there. That's why I
Yeah.
was curious.
I know it's common over here for people to not drive. Like, like especially if you live near the city, but like what I do. But like, I don't know. I'm all over the place today. We have a bunch of topics to talk about, and you know what? Let's get into all that stuff. Anyway, we have a pretty huge list of topics. Okay, so if people have been on social media for a while, you know that every so often a video game that people have been looking forward to, the developer will put out a still image with this bunch of text on it, and we all know what it means. A game is either getting delayed or cancelled. It's never usually good news. Well, a game was delayed, kind of, this past week, and I was actually surprised with what happened. So, now for 99% of the people that listen to this podcast, you are from the US, so you probably don't care about this game. But it's actually a big deal because I've never seen this happen before. So, Football Manager 2025. It's a yearly game. It comes out every year. It's absolutely massive in Europe, in the UK. And, you know, it was meant to come out in March, and the developers shared next to no screenshots, video, barely talked about the game. And it's actually a very big release yearly for Sega. Well, it turns out that they had so many issues with this year's release that they outright cancelled this year's game, and they just full on putting all heads down for work to make Football Manager 2026. So they've scrapped a game that's basically finished to get on to next year's game. Now, I've never seen this happen for a video game before. Ever. And, you know, Football Manager, you can consider it as a very niche game. It's a very, you know, it does look like it's just a bunch of, like, you know, timetables and Excel spreadsheets, kind of. But it's a huge release. Like, this thing sells millions of copies every year, every single year. And, you know, when it came to Xbox Series consoles in, I think it was 2021, that was a huge deal because that was the first time Football Manager was on a console outside of the Switch since, I believe, 2012 or 2011. So the fact that they just outright cancelled the game and they're starting from scratch with the new one just goes to show that, one, the game must have been in such a bad state that they've been in it. They've thrown it in the trash. And two, that, you know, Sega, they obviously going to lose out on millions, tens of millions of pounds, maybe even £100 million, all because of this, you know, mess up. So there's no Football Manager game out this year. People have to continue to play last year's. But it was huge. Huge news. And I think more developers maybe in the future have to take this approach, because in the past we've had so many broken games launch that people have questioned, why don't they just throw away the whole thing, you know? Logan, what was your take? Because we haven't really seen this happen for any video game before.
Yeah, I was gonna say that it's interesting on this one in particular because, you know, I follow Xbox, you know, community support account, and you know they're always tweeting out various problems, you know, and things being addressed and fixed on, you know, online access and all this other stuff. And a game I see frequently brought up is, you know, Football Manager, like the previous title.
Yeah.
Like they were always having connection issues or, you know, this or that problematic with the Xbox version. And then I was like, huh, interesting. And then I saw this, you know, yesterday, and I was just like, oh, put two and two together. You know, they were already having problems with their previous version. And so this one was just a royal mess. So they're punting for the next year, which honestly is smart. It's going to cost them up front, but I think it'll help them in the long run with goodwill and a better product in general. The last time I remember a game like this was basically in the we used to have two basically NBA sports games.
Oh,
We would
yeah.
have NBA 2K and then NBA Live, which was made by EA. Like I remember they were going to have an NBA Live. I can't remember what year it was, but I remember it because I think Kevin Durant, when he was with the Thunder, was supposed to be on the title as the cover athlete, if I remember correctly. It was a while back. And then, like, they announced him as the cover athlete. They do all these trailers, all this stuff. And then, right when the season's about to start, they're like, yeah, actually, now we're just not going to release the game. It's like, and people are like, what the heck? Why would you, do all this promotional stuff and, get all this stuff and everybody's ready for it, and then you just punt it, and they've never returned to NBA games like EA, basically normal NBA games. It's just been a 2K monopoly on NBA. So I don't know. It reminded me of that.
Yeah, it's crazy because I don't think I've seen anything like this before. Like you mentioned the basketball thing, like wasn't NBA Live like it was a complete finished game before they canned it?
If it wasn't completely finished, it was very close. It was a practically done or done title, and then they just decided not to release it and go through with it.
Wow. Well, good on them for at least not putting out like an absolute broken game, which we see too often these days, like way too often. But hey, good on them. Hopefully next year's game will actually work. Now, when it comes to the Game Pass situation, if I remember correctly, the past 3 have launched in Game Pass. So yeah, that's a big game. That's not going to be in Game Pass there this year. But hey, I mean, better to have a game not release at all, if it's not going to be in a good shape. But yeah, this is a cautionary tale for other developers. Like, no matter how much money your game's going to make, don't put out a product that's going to break, every 5 seconds. We see it way too often.
Long Skull Island, Gollum.
Yeah. Oh, that Gollum game, that was in the awful state. Like, in fact, the studio disbanded before the game was even fixed. So, like, you never know with these games. Speaking of the state of video gaming, I was going to leave this topic for later in the show, but we might as well talk about it now. So, um, earlier today on, Boomsticks podcast, we were talking about video games and where the industry's going, and the price situation got into my mind again because I saw a few people in the chat talk about how they are willing to pay $100 for GTA. And I've noticed over the past week, I've seen a bunch of different publishers or people from publishers talk about prices of games, how they should go up, how it'll benefit people. But they keep bringing up GTA because we all know they are going to be the canary in the coal mine. If they get away with the price, other developers will try. And I tried to make a point last night that, and I've spoke to people at publishers, they do legitimately think that we will buy games at $100 because we won't have an option to not to. Whereas my argument is people don't have to buy games day one. You can wait for a sale unless you cover games, and like that's how you get a living. Like there's no reason to buy games day one. Like fear of missing out or FOMO, it doesn't exist. Like it's not a thing. People shouldn't let it be a thing because like people have bought things that they didn't want. But anyway, story for another day. My point is that like publishers legitimately think we will buy games no matter the price because we won't have anything to play. But the truth is that if you fire up Xbox Live, PlayStation Network, Steam, Nintendo, like there's thousands of games available, thousands, and everyone hasn't played everything. You have AA games releasing every week, which are sometimes even better than AAA games, higher quality. And by the way, I don't remember the last time I bought a AA game that was broken at launch. They always work, for the most part, for me anyway. Indie games.
They know they have to get you
Yeah,
immediately.
yeah, exactly. Indie games, they do interesting things. They take risks because they can. And my point is that like in the next few months, we're gonna hear something about prices going up, be it GTA or other games, and I really hope that people genuinely push back on it because 70, like, look, ever since prices went up to 70 in the UK, I hear from a lot of people, doesn't matter what console or, platform they play on, like, the games going up to £70 put a lot of people off buying games day one. They'll wait for sales. Why not? Why should you buy games day one if they're £70? I mean, £70, realistically, you can go to the pub with your mates, get absolutely slashed, and still have money to get a taxi home. Right? That's the way people over here might think about it anyway. So like the price of these games going up, it's It doesn't make any sense. I don't see people clamoring for other forms of media to go up in price because they don't. Cinema tickets I'll use for instance. Cinema ticket where I live costs about £10, and about 10 years ago they cost about £10. Cinema prices haven't really changed where I live. And I don't see people saying, you know what, Jamie, I wish these cinema tickets cost £20 or £15. Nobody does that. People are more conscious about the money. Recently in the US, Netflix prices went up. Everyone was complaining about it, rightly so. And do you know what happened? They got away with it. Everyone moved on. Nobody was clamoring to pay more to be subscribed to Netflix. And we have video games sitting there where people are just willing to just spend their money for these $100 games. Because notice, Logan, the price increase is never mentioned as $80. It's just $100. Are you still there, Logan? Okay, I think Logan's missing. If you're having a tech problem, just jump out and jump back in. Discord, it has its issues. Movie tickets in the US cost $20. So that's £15, I think. I have been to cinemas that cost that much, but my point is, these studios, look, they have hard-working developers making these games, and it's a lot of effort that takes years. I get that. But, look, I see all the memes on Twitter about eggs, egg prices in the US. You should see the price of eggs here. Whew. But, video games, it's a luxury item. But I think that, the price to 70, we see games released, they sell less, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Incredible game. Incredible. It sold, I think 14 million copies. It had no microtransactions. And then the sequel comes out. It's an even better game. And it sold less. Because it was $70. I just don't know. These publishers, they want to keep pushing the argument. We keep seeing analysts predict that prices should go up, and we can't keep pushing the narrative of, oh yeah, GTA, I'm willing to spend $100 on that game, because believe me when I say it, these games aren't just $70 anymore. These $70 plus day one DLC, skin packs. Some games have supporter DLC, which I can get behind because that's a choice. You're getting something in return. The developers get some money. Perfectly fine with that. But, even when you have battle passes in games, in premium games, like Call of Duty, I love Call of Duty Black Ops multiplayer. I think that you should not have a battle pass for a premium multiplayer game. In a free-to-play game, I completely get it. 100% get it. But in a premium game, I can't get behind battle passes. Logan, are you back yet? Okay, he's just trying to get back online. Discord, it messes up. But anyway, my point is, prices going up, it's not something we should push for, in the UK, back in 2013, video game prices went up significantly. And there were no articles about it. There was no boycott of new games. Everyone just kind of looked past it, and it happened, One of the things you'll notice that in the US, console prices didn't go up recently. In the past 2 or 3 years, Sony raised the price of their consoles, then Microsoft raised the price of their consoles, and the Oculus Quest, or whatever that headset's called now, MetaQuest, that thing went up $100. Do you know where these consoles didn't go up in price? The US. The US is an extremely vocal market, and Microsoft or Sony don't have the cojones to raise the price of consoles over there, and rightly so. I just want people to, stand up. Don't let them do this with video games, because I 100% believe we will have another video game crash if prices go up again. Even if it's just to $80 or £80, that's an absurd amount of money for a video game. And I say that video games aren't worth £70. I'd say most of them aren't even worth $60. Games launch broken day one, needing patches. Sometimes I've had to download a game, and then I've had a patch day one the size of the video game. meaning it's putting off my playtime, and it's annoying. Modern gaming, it's annoying at best. We have to deal with so many different hurdles, and like look, PSN was having its issues the other day. People are paying for multiplayer experiences. They couldn't have access to those games. They couldn't have access to a lot of their digitally owned games because the service was down. And then you look at the companies that are missing out on that money because nobody could access the network. Like in that aspect, it's actually bad for everyone. We don't pay. We don't get what we pay for. That's my point. GTA. A lot of people don't like when I say this. Like, it's going to be a fun 30-hour experience, and then I'm going to be waiting for the next GTA game in 2042. That sounds like a Blade Runner movie. But yeah, I'm not going to be playing GTA Online. And by the way, I know I'm ranting a bit today. I apologize, but like GTA Online is going to make so much money. Those shark cards are absurd. People buy new copies of GTA at discounted prices so they can get the shark cards at discount. Like, that's why you have such an inflated amount of copies sold for GTA 5. GTA 5 is a great game. Don't get me wrong. But it is not that good that it should have sold that many copies. In fact, Red Dead Redemption 2 is a better game. Putting it out there. Our bones will be dust by the time GTA 7 releases. Like, really think about it. Before shark cards, before Rockstar discovered microtransactions, we were getting a Rockstar game maybe once every year and a half. We'd get a Max Payne 3 here, we'd get a Bully there, or L.A. Noire, something like that. It was always something interesting. And hell, when we had GTA 4, we had 2 single-player expansions. So when GTA 4 launched in, I think, 2008, like in between that, launching in 2008, and GTA 5, we had one whole game and 2 expansions, which were basically the size of full GTA games. And since GTA 5 came out, we've had one game. Literally one. Red Dead 2. We haven't had single-player expansions across the board. We've just been offered this DLC nonsense. And by the way, as I used to be a GTA Online addict, like I used to be addicted to it all the time. And like I saw one day just through their BS, because they put out these missions that offer you goods, like such as maybe you'll get the flying car or the flying jet motorcycle, but you have to enter in a business which you need a lot of money for, and then you have to upgrade your business. And then you have to buy the vehicle. And by the way, the vehicle prices have gone up over time to the point where some of the early vehicles you can't even buy anymore. So they've inflated the price of their own digital cars and like motorcycles, vehicles that are already in the game you own, which you have to pay real money for because it would literally take tens, if not hundreds of hours to grind GTA cash. Like, I have over $370 million earned in GTA Online because I was playing it so much. That isn't healthy. like what I was doing in that game, it's not a healthy way to play video games. It feels like every week now I'm just ranting about Rockstar. I'm frustrated as a gamer. Very frustrated. Anyway, my point is, video game prices, people have to push back on it because it's going to happen. It's going to happen eventually. Maybe they'll do it by region, but yeah. Really thinking about it, I kind of just want to rant about GTA Online for a bit because you have this like really cool game, GTA 5. They have interesting characters, interesting world, and it really bothered me that you have this huge map where they don't actually use most of the map in that game. You play through the story, there's interesting areas which you never ever visit, and they maybe use them in GTA Online for 1 or 2 missions. Honestly, I think I'm just really salty that GTA 5 was originally going to get like 8 expansions, and then they just decided to not do it because shark cards are printing money. Like, Rockstar made an unholy amount of money because of shark cards, and here we are, years later, no expansions, and we're still waiting on the next game. And I think it doesn't help that Rockstar Games, there's a very unhealthy fan base mentality when it comes to Rockstar. So we're going back a few years here. When the Xbox One X came out, and people were saying on Twitter, wouldn't it be cool if this game got an enhancement? And this happened all the time. Well, every time I wrote, GTA 5 should get an Xbox One X enhancement, I always had this exact same reply from people. But Jamie, they hard at work on GTA 6. So what happens? GTA 5 gets remastered. We had to pay for the upgrade we should have had for free, while other developers were putting out free upgrades. Like, the Rockstar have gone from one of the most beloved developers in the industry, and they still are, but this is probably all Take-Two, I get it, but like slimy tactics, which I think other studios can't get away with, but Rockstar just gets this magical pass, and it's really annoying. It's really annoying. It's been going on for years. I'll put it like this. Red Dead Redemption 2 is sold, I believe, 60 or 70 million copies, and that wasn't enough money to justify an expansion or even more online support. Do you know how much money that is? That's hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars, and that's not enough money for continued support. They pulled the ripcord on Red Dead Online because it wasn't enough money. Oh my god. Like, that's how greedy they are. And this is the company that wants to charge people $80. I believe we have Logan. Logan, are you back?
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry about that. This ice is coming in, and it decided that it did not like our conversation. But I'm back now.
That's fair enough. It happens. I've just been whining about just Rockstar and the price situation and basically anything about Rockstar. Like, what's your take on the prices going up again? Because it looks like it might happen, and Rockstar is basically going to be the canary in the coal mine.
Basically, the PG version is take a hike. I mean, like, no, I'm not paying that much for a base game. Like, I'll make exceptions for things that come with like a ton of extra content or like special collector's editions or like this is the only way this game is going to get produced in like some crazy extenuating circumstance kind of thing. But in general, no. I have a very hard line. Like I didn't like 70. So I daggum do not like 100. And it's just egregious, it's greedy, it's manipulative, it's well, we already got you by the balls, you're gonna pay for it anyway kind of mentality. And like there's a lot of suckers out there, just to
Yeah.
be frank. There's a lot of gamers are suckers. Like, they've got these guys by the balls and they're just like, hey, you know what? Just like sports games. Like honestly, sports games they shouldn't release a new one every year. It should be we release, maybe a few per generation in case there's some big leaps in tech or something mechanics they need to change. But in general, release it and then update rosters and have expansions or do something to where you're not having to pay for basically the same thing but just different sweat and colors for the next year. It's ridiculous and it's a predatory system and $100 is like apex predator system. It is ridiculous, it's egregious, it's greedy as can be. And no, I'm just gonna like I'll see you at sale, buddy, because I like GTA. It's a lot of fun, but I mean I only play for the single player,
Yeah.
and then occasionally if I'm really bored, drive around the city, drive crazy, run away with the max star rating or whatever, listen to the radio, goof off with cheats, but I'm not a diehard like gotta have it GTA junkie, so I can definitely wait months, if not a year or two, if I need to. Because yeah, $100, like heck no.
Yeah.
Oh.
Honestly, that game it is going to disappoint people. The amount of like hype that game has, like it's Half-Life 3 level hype. And that
If
game,
it cured cancer, okay,
yeah,
but
like
like
it
I'm just gonna say I don't think they do that.
yeah,
Mm.
it's crazy because like this is Half-Life 3 level hype. Like Half-Life 3, at least you know that Valve could probably do it. You know that Valve could probably pull off like a game that's going to blow people's minds, right? But with Rockstar, honestly, I can't see the next GTA being better than Red Dead 2. That is a tall order. Just the interesting game mechanics, mini games, and stuff. Like GTA has always been more. I don't want to say it bland, but you've just had less gameplay options. You know, in GTA you can walk, run, shoot, drive, climb. In Red Dead you could do everything basically, but I don't know. I just think a lot of people are going to be really disappointed when that game comes out. You know, and look, and I hate to say this as a GTA fan. You know, back in the day, remember when GTA 3 came out and it blew people's minds? You know, this brand new 3D city. It was literally a game changer to the point where, you know, it had this sort of subgenre of video games spawn off. Like, we wouldn't have Saints Row or Watch Dogs or, you know, the Mafia games, how they are, if it wasn't for GTA. And then, like, think about how big GTA 3 was. We only had to wait 1 year for Vice City. Just one. Like, in Vice City was an even better game. Like, the soundtrack in Vice City, by the way, it's unparalleled. Like, that 80s soundtrack, it's sublime. Incredible. Chef's kiss. Um, and then for GTA San Andreas, we only waited 2 years. And what did that game have? 3 major cities, more vehicles, more vehicle types. There's even a bloody jetpack and a jet in that game. You know, it was incredible. Just the different gameplay mechanics. You could, you can make CJ like super skinny or super buff, like depending on how much you worked out and what you ate. Like it was super cool, interesting gameplay mechanics. And then when we got GTA 4, fast forward 4 years, like it was the HD era. The level of detail in that city, the gameplay was more refined, and there was less gameplay mechanics. And you had that dude that was phoning you, asking you to go bowling every 5 seconds. Um, but like the game was
Your
incredible.
cousin Roman,
Yeah, it's Cousin Roman,
yeah.
and like it was an incredible game, incredible story. And then we had the 2 expansions, the Ballad of Gay Tony, excellent expansion, great gameplay. You know, refined helicopter movement, and they even changed the gameplay physics for the vehicles for each expansion. When you played the Lost and the Damned, motorcycles controlled way differently, and they were better. They were more fun to drive, and it was such a dark storyline with those characters. GTA 5, yeah, it's a cool game. Like it's an absolutely solid story, but like nowhere near as good as 4. And just GTA Online, absolute triple A slop since 2013. This is 2 weeks in a row I've been ranting about Rockstar. I, I didn't mean to. Anyway, we'll move on. But yeah, video game prices, they shouldn't go up. You know what, Logan, I know you want to talk about this. The Xbox suggestion box, which I actually think is a good idea.
Yeah, basically, like there used to be a thing, where that there were suggestions or user feedback ideas you could give to Xbox, and they'd have a tally and a list and like a portfolio of things, and they'd keep tabs on things and say, this has been approved or greenlit, this is not for various reasons, or in progress or whatever. Like, I remember even Halo Wars 2 was a suggestion in a box at one point,
Yeah.
and a lot of people wanted it, and it got up, and lo and behold, they made it. It was incredible. I'm still really annoyed they haven't made the third one or continued support for that. Like, why is it still not on Steam? Like, because that still seems egregious to me if it's still not on Steam. Because like the PC hotbed of the world, you would think you'd put your RTS on there. Because I remember at one point it wasn't. But yeah, like you could do that. They had the box for the backwards compatibility where, Black Ops 2, Oblivion, Skyrim, the Dead Space games, the Mass Effect trilogy, all the way to obscure games like Deadly Premonition or, just like the Jurassic Park Telltale game, like all kinds of stuff you could vote for and say, hey, we want this. Or suggestions like, hey, we'd like an adaptive controller or the ability to sync these features or whatever. Like, I know they took all that stuff down, but I gotta tell you, like, I think it's a disservice and I think they should bring it back. I think if they don't want to do it for BC, fine. Okay. Because they're limited in what they can do at this point. Just give us the stragglers that make sense and be done. Okay. But aside from BC, like for cloud, because there was apparently a fresh batch that got leaked today of 4 new titles that'll be coming to that service, and they're games that are leaving Game Pass right now. They are Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, Merge and Blade, Return to Grace, and Indivisible. They're all 4 currently in Game Pass, but they're listed in the on the way out category. So it kind of seems like Xbox is trying to make a policy to where they're going to try to retain cloud rights to as many games as possible that are in Game Pass, to where even if they leave, if you buy it, you can still play it going forward. That way you don't get royally screwed if a game leaves Game Pass and you were used to playing it on cloud, but then because it's no longer in Game Pass, arbitrarily you can't play it on cloud anymore. Because that has happened to a few games. Like Everspace 2, for example. That was cloud, I believe. And then it suddenly wasn't just because it wasn't in Game Pass. And I'm like, come on now. So I think they should put a suggestion box or have a polling place, something for ideas and specifically for these cloud games. Because I can tell you off the top of my head, there are a ton of games that should be front listed for this, and publishers and developers who make perfect sense for these kinds of things, like Night Dive and their retro remasters and remakes. Like most of those games would be perfect for a cloud device. I would say you should basically greenlight all Metroidvanias physically possible to just be cloud going forward. Like After Image is a great one. Blasphemous 1 and 2. Like there are so many Metroidvanias out there that are incredible, and retro shooters that play great on these. And then Return to Grace is like a Telltale style game, walking sim, and that was on the list, and so was Bloodstained, which is basically a Metroidvania. So it seems like they're getting the idea, but I still think they should make it to where people can, put what they want and they can kind of get prioritization, because I don't know, it seems like sometimes they're not listening when maybe they are, but sometimes it's kind of leaves some doubt in your mind.
Yeah, it's a good idea. My only thing is that maybe Microsoft hasn't done it yet because they might be worried what happened with BC stuff. Because when they put out those, the suggestion box basically for backwards compatible stuff, the top 20 games were basically Call of Duty titles. So maybe they worried that'll happen. But anyway, hopefully it's something they'll do. You mentioned Return to Grace. That was a good little sci-fi game. Very good game.
Oh, it was awesome.
I think you can finish it in like 4 hours, something like that. Very cool walk and sim, and that is a walk and sim. That's what you do in that game. You walk from point to point, but it's a fun game. Really cool story. Multiple endings too. So if you want to get all your achievements, you have to, make sure to save at certain points. I mean, if I remember correctly, I think the reason we got screenshots was PlayStation did have access to screenshots other than DVR, but like when the Xbox One came out, you could only record clips, and I think we got screenshots maybe 6 months later. But that like screenshots was like the top of the board basically for a while when the Xbox One came out. But yeah, it's a good idea. Hopefully they do that. And I see people wondering like why is cloud such a priority? I think going forward, you have the Xbox handheld, which is probably going to be a thing. Like you're going to be able to play games as you download them. You're going to be able to play games on the go. Maybe you don't want to download certain games. Maybe Xbox releases two different handhelds. Maybe one's a native handheld. Maybe one's a cheaper cloud handheld. You don't know. CEX. No, that's the store. CES. I'm all over the place today. Like they had a bunch of new like PC handhelds, and there was some streaming tablets. So who knows what's going to happen? I think it's good for Microsoft to have more of these games available for people that own them, because why not? That's a cool thing to have available if you already own the game. Like I own, let's see, I own Terminator Resistance. Why wouldn't it be cool if I could just play that on the go if all of a sudden I wanted to? Why not? Anyway, we'll move on. You know what? We can talk about this quickly because this is good news for JRPG fans. So there was a brand new Kickstarter game, and I don't really like covering Kickstarter too much because too many people have been burned on certain releases, but this one does look promising. So there's a new JRPG in Kickstarter called Alterium Shift. It's this super cool looking JRPG. It blends styles of SNES style JRPGs and PlayStation 1 style JRPGs. So you got 2.5D and 3D elements all in the same game. Well, they offer an Xbox version in the Kickstarter, which is really cool. But because people asked, they've confirmed they're going to offer a physical version for people that want to get in on that as well. So if you want to get a physical version on Xbox of this JRPG, it's now available, which is really cool. And the developer also answered Logan earlier in the day. They are wanting to get more Xbox features working in the game, such as cloud and I assume quick resume and all that stuff. But hey, it's good that you have a smaller developer that they still making the game and they have Xbox in mind. So that's excellent news. Logan, I know you're looking forward to this one, right?
Yeah, I'm really excited for it. One, shouts to them for being quick with responding and being friendly and courteous and, you know, being forward on stuff and being like, yeah, we want to expand to get as many platforms as possible, physical, digital, however you want to play. And yeah, we're coming to Xbox, so we want to make sure we can access all the features possible, which would include cloud. So I thought that's good, and the more games that we see going forward that are like day one access to, you know, cloud access to play anywhere to where you buy it on your PC, you buy it on your Xbox, whatever, you can play it wherever because you've bought the game, quote unquote. So I it just made me happy, and I love that they're so responsive, so supportive, and they have a really cool idea, and I wish them well. And yeah, more games like that deserve support.
Yeah. And, like you said, how the developers have been talking about, like, well, with the audience, basically. And as we've seen from certain developers in the past, year or so, some developers can be really nasty towards, like, certain fan bases. Maybe they'll jump in with the console war, but this is a JRPG where they know there's Xbox fans that want it. And normally, look, it's because I've seen so many people burning Kickstarters in the past. Certain things don't like come out. Hell, I remember there was someone that donated towards a Kickstarter years ago. It was for an air umbrella, and this person was asking about when they're getting their air umbrella for like 9 years. And this person never got this umbrella they wanted. Now, granted, this is a video game; it's gonna happen. But yeah, I never normally invest in Kickstarters, but I'm tempted with this one because it does look really good. But hey, New JRPG coming to Xbox. What can I say? I think that the more JRPGs coming to Xbox, the better. And this year is stacked, by the way, for JRPGs. There's so many interesting ones coming out. Exciting times. Anyway, we'll move on. You know what? We still have like 15 topics. Logan, I know you want to talk about new indie games have just been teased today.
Yeah, apparently, there's already the Idea at Xbox Indie Showcase, which is going to be on the 24th. They're going to do it through IGN again, Regardless of how you feel about them, that seems to be their avenue of choice for these indie shows. So they're going to have that. And today they teased that they're going to have like 24 indies that are coming out this month. And quite a few, if not all of them, are going to be featured at this show. So they're going to be cranking these suckers out. And they teased two of them today. I can't remember the names specifically. But yeah, like 24 or 25 indies coming this month through the ID at Xbox program. And they are wink, wink, nudge, nudge, heavily suggesting you tune in on the 24th to learn more about this.
Yeah. I mean, there's going to be a bunch of cool indies there. I keep talking about Jump Ship. I feel like I'm doing all the marketing for that game. Like, nobody else is talking about it. And, like, the developers barely talking about it, even though they have such a cool idea for a video game. But that's going to be there, Jump Ship. I was talking about earlier on the show how, like, indie developers, they actually try to make things interesting. I think I've just been so phased by AAA slop that, like, I'm actually looking forward more towards these indie games and, like, AA games. But, hey, should be a good time. Bunch of new games coming to Xbox. You know what? We'll talk about this because I didn't know anything about it up until when you mentioned it, Logan, and that is Parasite Eve. So Parasite Eve is rumored to be coming back, and this is a game that I didn't get to play as a kid, but I've heard nothing but good things about it. So Logan, tell me what's going on with Parasite Eve, because a lot of people seem really hyped about this.
Yeah, first off, take it with, all the grains of salt, Dead Sea scale, all this stuff. But there is buzz in the interwebs for some reason. Maybe it's people on the same hopium Jamie and I are about BC, but that there's going to be something Parasite Eve related or similar at the Sony show tomorrow, which, the show is just revealed to be tomorrow. And for those who aren't familiar, it was basically Square Enix's take on a Resident Evil style game and genre, but like more sci-fi y, and but also really scary and just crazy. And like, how Square does with their writing and stuff. It gets absolutely bat crap crazy. But it's one I've always wanted to play. And so apparently there were some known leakers with a decent track record and some other stuff strongly hinting that this title is going to be featured there or at this show in some capacity. Whether that happens or not, who knows? I'm an optimistic guy, so I'll go, you know what? That sounds great. I hope it happens. But if it does, I will be very, very excited. But I would be curious if it does happen, would this be, grandfathered into, well, it was technically on PS1, so Sony has got it exclusive or exclusive for a time, or would Square be fully committed to, we said we're making everything multi-plat going forward, so it gets into that, or like where on the, spectrum it ends up landing. But regardless, it's one I want to play 100% if it's real.
Yeah, I mean, I've always wanted to play it. I take a collection of old games too.
Oh yeah, ports.
I think those early PlayStation 1 games, they have some charm to them. It's an art style I really like playing. Old games, I don't. It doesn't really bother me. Like, I've recently played through Metal Gear Solid. That game in the Master Collection has no upgrades at all. It is literally like 480i or whatever it was on the original PlayStation. It's blurry. It's like looking at your TV screen, but if it was covered in Vaseline. That's how clear that image is. But yeah, Parasite Eve, hopefully it comes. And like hopefully it does come to Xbox, because it would be weird for Square Enix to say, hey, look everyone, we're going to be doing multi-platform stuff going forward, and then they announce a PlayStation exclusive. That would be so weird. But hopefully they don't do that, and we should find out tomorrow. You know, speaking of PlayStation 1 games, this popped up in my feed yesterday. So, Gex the Gecko was a very fun game back in the day, and there was a remaster collection announced about a year ago, and they've been completely silent ever since. In fact, it was one of the few IP that Square Enix decided to hold on to when everything was sold off to Embracer. Well, it turns out, yeah, of course, and it turns out that, as predicted, it's a bare bones 1-to-1 port, but with widescreen. Now, I'm still gonna buy it. I loved Gex the Gecko back in the day, and I think the one I played the most was Enter the Gecko, I think it was called, and that thing parodied everything. There was Star Wars, Star Trek. There was like some Bruce Lee films in there. Basically, that film got away with copyright back in the day somehow. There was blatant things from Star Wars in this game, which I don't know how they got away with it. Blatantly Star Wars through and through in the game. But yeah, it's a 1-to-1 remaster. I'm doing air quotes. It's just a port with widescreen and achievements, which, you know, so be it. Why not? Logan, do you think we'll be picking that up? Because, again, it is just a bare bones widescreen port.
Oh, 100%. I'll be picking this up. I loved it growing up. I remember I had I can't remember which one, but I had one of them on Game Boy Advance.
Yeah.
And I also had the N64 one. And I remember there was like Looney Tunes references, there were James Bond references, Indiana Jones references. It was basically like Conquer, but a gecko and milder on the humor scale.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Like, as long as it's like $20 or less, yeah, count me in day one. That sounds fun.
Yeah, I really hope Square Enix doesn't mess it up and charge like $50 for it. Like, it is literally widescreen port. That's it. You get 16:9. The resolution didn't look like it was upscaled at all. And the assets are literally PlayStation 1 flat assets. Like, can you remember that weird texture effect on PlayStation 1 games where you'd have a flat texture like a wall, but it would move?
Oh, yes. Or, like triangle noses and
Yeah.
other body features, and like the hands are like clubs.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was a different time for sure.
Yeah, but it has its charm. I think a lot of people enjoy it. Just, if you go
Oh,
to
I
the...
miss.
Yeah. I mean, there are some developers today that do that PlayStation 1 style game thing going on. There's been some horror games. Like, Logan, did you play a horror game like last year? It was like, I think it was like $15 or something. It was basically an isometric Resident Evil game in the style of a PlayStation 1 game.
Yes, and it was actually one of my games of the year, along with retroactively I'll add Indiana Jones and then Space Marine 2, but yeah, it was Crow County,
Crow County, that
and
was it.
it was incredible. It's on Xbox and PlayStation and I think Switch, and basically it's like a PS1 N64 era horror game set at an amusement park, and it is fantastic.
Yeah, there's a few games like that. Hopefully it's like a genre that comes back, because like I like 16-bit games, don't get me wrong, but it just feels like you have these like really crappy 3D polygon looking games that people still like playing. They have this certain charm to them. Like you said, Crow Country, like all the reviews for that are basically positive, despite the fact that it looked like it came out in '96. And that's what the game's going for, so it works. But yeah, Parasite Eve. We should hear more tomorrow. Speaking of Parasite Eve, the PlayStation State of Play is tomorrow. It was announced today. There's obviously going to be some Xbox stuff there. That's kind of how these shows go. You know, depending on which platform you're a fan of or which one you prefer the most, you will watch it because you're guaranteed to see some multi-platform announcements which you will play. And if you're an Xbox fan, I mean, every time there's a JRPG announced, you know the deal. You know the deal. You watch these shows, you see the PlayStation or Switch logo at the end of the trailer, and then you go straight to Twitter to see if the developer put out their own version of the trailer with an Xbox logo on. We all do it. Every time, without fail. Might just be me. It's not just me. But anyway.
No, I do it. I spam the replies. I'm like, where are the numbers, Mason? What do they mean?
Yeah.
But about like, where's the Xbox logo?
Yeah, like when the what do you call that game? Legacy of Kain. I'm all over the place today.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, when Legacy of Kain was announced for the Switch, immediately on Twitter I saw people going, why isn't this coming to Xbox? In fact, do you know what was number one trending in the UK when that was announced? No Xbox. That was trending.
Of course.
when Legacy of Kain collection was announced, and like I knew it was coming to Xbox. I already saw the art for it, but I did my thing I normally do on Twitter. I posted a GIF of the game, and I said, "Hey, you know, Legacy of Kain collection coming to Xbox, blah blah blah." And the amount of replies I had saying, "But you don't know if it's coming to Xbox, Jamie." It's like, yes, I did, but that's what we do. But anyway, there should be a lot of cool, interesting games here. I believe they said the thing's going to be 45 minutes long. You know, and I was talking about this earlier today, and I've mentioned it before. Like, a lot of developers and publishers are looking at the first half of this year. Like, this first half of this year is stacked. So, like, whatever's announced there, I don't think you're going to be seeing release dates at, say, October, November, even September. Like, GTA's basically has reign of that period until, like, there's announced date announced. But anyway, there are games that are meant to be coming out in the next few months. I do think we will see that. I do think we will see Judas, Ken Levine's new game there, because that game was originally listed to come out by the end of March 2025. And I just checked the calendar right now. It's now the 12th of February. So they have to announce something.
I wondered what happened to that.
Yeah. I mean, as far as I know, development's going fine. It's just they need to show it more. Although, considering Ken Levine's games in the past and how they were shown, maybe him taking a more indie approach and just talking about it when they're ready, I think maybe that's the best way to do it. But that game looks phenomenal. If you like Bioshock, it's basically Bioshock in space, and that's all it needs to be. I 100% think we are going to get a release date for Exodus, which is a brand new sci-fi RPG by a bunch of ex-BioWare developers. Now, everyone already knows I'm going to hype train the living hell out of that game. I'm going to basically market the game for the developer for free. Because you show
Ask for a hoodie, Jamie. Yeah. Come on. You know, that's some pride.
You know, if any of the developers ever do listen to this show, just send me a box of free crap for Exodus. I'll get people talking about your game. I mean, look, going back when Mass Effect Andromeda came out, you should have seen the amount of times I was tweeting about that game. You think I was literally paid off with a big fat check by BioWare, but no, like hype trained the living hell out of that game. But yeah, Exodus, it looks fantastic. It's everything I want in a sci-fi RPG. And look, people working on that game have worked on Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy game, which phenomenal. In fact, the writer, no, I'm getting that mixed up with Mass Effect. I'm all over the place today. But you have talent that worked on Mass Effect 2 on this game. Mass Effect 2 is a masterpiece. But anyway, I do think we will see a release date for that trailer. For that game. I think the one that leaked, and it's basically confirmed at this point, is Metal Gear Solid Delta. The trailer accidentally leaked on PSN about 4 days ago with the release date of August. So it's coming in August. That game, let me tell you, looks phenomenal. If you're a Metal Gear Solid fan, especially for 3, you are eating good, because that game is 1-to-1. Yeah, if I will put it like this, if you want to wait for the 4K trailer, don't look for the leaked one. I think the leaked one was 720p, and there's a lot of footage in this new Metal Gear trailer. I 100% think we are going to see it tomorrow. It makes perfect sense, especially how Metal Gear Solid's been shown in the past, several times. But people are going to be very happy with that game. Very happy. You basically have a one-to-one remake of one of the best games ever made, but with refined modern gameplay, which it looks phenomenal. Like, Logan, have you kept up with Metal Gear Solid Delta at all?
On here with you, yes, but not independently too much. But one thing I am super curious about, for those who are unfamiliar, in the original one, there was basically a cheat way to get around one of the bosses that was like this long, drawn out fight. You could basically speed up time and make the guy die of old age. I wonder how they'll do that for this one.
Yeah, I hope they keep that stuff in. The very goofy things about Metal Gear Solid, it's like that's kind of what makes it work. I will say this before we continue talking about the state of play stuff. The naming has me interested because it's not called Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. It's called Delta Snake Eater. And, well, Konami have said, like, if this game sells well, we're going to see remakes of the first game and the second game. So, like, I think narrative-wise, they know what they're doing. Metal Gear Solid 3 is technically the first game. It's a prequel. So I think them doing the games in that order, release 3, 1, and 2, it's going to get fans basically into the story because Metal Gear Solid has a very particularly interesting story and a very complicated story. Like, if you jump into Metal Gear Solid 2 and you haven't played 1 or know anything about 3, you're kind of screwed. like that game.
Yeah, Godspeed to you.
Yeah, like even if you have played those games and have a degree in Metal Gear Solid, you probably still don't know what's going on. That's how complicated that is. I mean, hell, in Metal Gear Solid 4, there's a woman who basically can go invisible, and she has like a robotic octopus like tentacles attached to her back. And there's a guy who's a vampire, but he's a vampire because of nanomachines, and he could walk around in broad daylight. Like it's all over the place, but I think that's one of the reasons why I love that franchise. It's so absurd; it doesn't make sense half the time. But yeah. So yeah, Metal Gear, I do think we will see that there. Basically, I think we're going to see a lot of third-party games that don't have release dates. Crimson Desert comes out later this year. I 100% believe that we are going to get a release date. Now, when it comes to Sony stuff, a lot of Sony stuff's pretty far out. Wolverine, that's ways out. It leaked it, the Insomniac thing back in 2023. You also have Ghost of Yortide that comes out later this year, I believe. They could probably put out a trailer for that. But I think it's basically going to be heavy on the third-party announcements. And obviously, the elephant in the room is, what about Xbox stuff? Honestly, I can't imagine a world where we see Xbox content at a PlayStation show, not because it would, mess up Microsoft. I think it's because I don't think Sony wants Microsoft to make money off their back. So that's why I don't think we could see Xbox content there. Now, if we do, this is one game I think they should show, and that is Age of Mythology. RTS games are non-existent on PlayStation. In fact, I don't think there are any at all. But on console in general, there aren't many. I think there's maybe 9 on Xbox, 9 or 10. But like that's nothing compared to the thousands of games on the store. And I think for RTS games to become more mainstream on console, that has to happen. Like hell, I've port begged StarCraft on console more times than I can think. Right? It's because we need to prove that there's an audience on console that are willing to play these games. Fortunately in the UK, I know RTS games do well on Xbox, but like when it comes to the worldwide audience, I'm not entirely sure. I think, getting it on a PlayStation showcase would be like, it'd be basically showing a new audience a new type of game that they haven't played before. RTS games are niche. Why not? I have seen Hellblade 2 thrown around. Funny enough, all the games I'm talking about, I've been told a million times over the past few years that these games are bad. I've been told RTS games don't count because they crap. Like, God. Who knows what's going to be there? Logan, what do you think's going to be there, and what do you think's going to be there, if anything, regarding Microsoft?
If anything Microsoft, I would guess Hellblade 2 because the first one technically started off as a PlayStation game, as an indie, and then Microsoft acquired Ninja Theory, and then like, well, it's already on PlayStation, we might as well put it on Switch as well, and so then they put it on Switch, and then the sequel has been on Xbox, and I think it's probably done the numbers it's gonna do because it's a very, shall we say, intensive experience. And it is a game, but it's not like a gamey game, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so I think the interest and the market, draw for it is less than some others, but I like these art house things. And so I think there's a need for them and a need to continue them and keep supporting them for Game Pass and other things. And so I think, bringing it over makes sense, help maximize what you can get out of it for their, Project Mara and whatever else they're working on going forward. And since the first one, started off with PlayStation anyway, it wouldn't shock me if it's there. Age of Mythology is a good call because that was recently confirmed. Maybe they show off some Forza Horizon 5 since it was recently revealed as coming to PlayStation. I doubt Xbox goes full Band Aid ripoff mode and just dumps everything all at the PlayStation show. It doesn't seem their style. To me, they seem to really want to drag this torture out for some reason. But I could see those, and I have a hunch we see something marathon
Oh yeah.
because I don't I don't know why, but the vibes have been just so daggum hideous regarding Bungie the past year or so. Like, even Jeff Keighley and his polls, which, skew certain ways because the majority of his audience, even they were like F's in the
Yeah.
chat for Bungie and like grades for the purchase and everything. So I think they desperately need to get something that at least seems somewhat positive for Bungie out there, and maybe try to distract people from the absolute colossal cluster cluck that was Concord and all their other live service games they've punted out of existence now. Like, this is one of the few you've kept. Like, you better show that it's worth something and it's not garbage. So I think we might see something marathon related there, and I don't know why, but I just have this hunch that aside from the Parasite Eve thing, maybe it's just the Parasite Eve thing, but I think there'll be a resurrection of an older IP from PlayStation. They've been talking about it, that they need to bring back the catalog. It's well past time. Like, we got the bummer news the other day that they had refused to greenlight a Resistance 4 or the Order 1886 sequel for reasons and stuff like that. So they need some good news. Bring back a game, and I think they will.
Yeah. Yeah, mentioning Marathon, that's a good shout because that's meant to come out this year, and we haven't really seen anything. I'm actually looking forward to Marathon because it's a sci-fi extraction game. I think trying to describe what an extraction game is to the mass public is going to be a bit tough because like it kind of looks like a battle royale, but it's nothing like a battle royale at the same time. So they have to introduce an entire new genre to the masses, shall I say. I mean, you have Escape from Tarkov on PC. They basically own that genre on PC, so they have to get console gamers used to it. I mean, Bungie. The thing is, a lot of the talk has been about multi-platform stuff, but Sony's been in a rough spot. The Bungie stuff, the Concord stuff. They've had like 10 games cancelled. When people are talking about the state of play, they're just talking about Xbox games. They aren't talking about Sony IP or Sony games. Like, it's all port begging and just talking about Xbox games. It's kind of bad, really.
How
You know,
the tables turn, man.
yeah. But Xbox first party this year, it's absolutely stacked. But anyway, I think state of play should be good, and one of the games I'll mention, Indiana Jones. That game is meant to come to PlayStation at some point this year, and hell, that money will go towards my sequel. I mean, hell, the game's already did well enough that Disney apparently phoned Microsoft and said we want more of this. Get Troy Baker on the line, make more. That's all they have to do. Anyway, we'll move on. But yeah, I think it's going to be a fun watch. Mainly third party stuff. And I have seen something. Apparently, we're going to get Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag announced in the next few months. So, like, considering how big AC4 is, and if people haven't played Assassin's Creed 4, oh my god, what a game! It really does look like we could be seeing the remake this year, even though Shadows releases next month. It's going to be a crazy year for games. Anyway, you know what? We'll talk about this quickly. Ever since the Activision deal went through last year, we've all been talking about the Activision ABK batch. When are these games coming to Game Pass? When are they going to add more games? Because we've heard that behind the scenes there's been a backwards compatible batch coming for ages. Deadpool, Transformers, bunch of Call of Duty titles. I mean, hell, Call of Duty Classic is the only Call of Duty game you can't play on an Xbox. It was never made backwards compatible. So like things like that, and it's been over a year. We still don't know what's happening. My original prediction was that Microsoft was wanting basically everyone playing Black Ops 6, and bring over Call of Duty and other titles later. Well, now it's getting close to halfway through February. We must know something soon. Like, Logan, do you think these games are still coming, or do you think it's a bit washed?
Um, I'll throw a glass half full, half empty thing on it. I think some will happen, like whether it's BC or maybe new bare bones ports. But I think things like Singularity, Quake 4, Return Castle Wolfenstein, Quake Wars, games that should be no brainers. Just put a stamp on it and get it across the finish line because you own all the companies involved now. There was, entanglements before that are no longer a problem. Like, unless it just bloody doesn't work technically, like it runs like garbage or it's a system breaking thing, then it should be no brainers to get those across. I think those should and will happen. I still believe they will. I think it's just being sat on until a certain point for whatever reason. But I do think it is happening. I would pump the brakes on the. I don't know, but I have this feeling that the Marvel games and the Transformer games are still just gonna be a problem. Um, whether I, personally, in an ideal world, I think it's bullcrap that they have to deal with all this licensing nonsense. Like,
Yeah.
if a game exists, people should be able to keep playing it and buy it and this instead of, oh, well, there was this, skin used at this one point or a branding thing in this corner image of a thing or a song that had a 10-second clip in a game is suddenly keeping it from being listed for the masses to play it. Like, nonsense like that. But it is what it is. Licenses exist for a reason. I just think it's dumb.
Yeah.
But I would say that I think Transformer games will be back on Xbox. Whether it's the older ones, I don't know. I'm usually an optimist, but I kind of get a feeling that those and the Marvel ones just aren't going to happen at this point. But I do think the other ones that are not music games, racing games, or Marvel Transformers will happen. So like Crash and Spyro, Gun, True Crime, stuff like that. Yeah, but Transformers, unless Hasbro just gets a new deal or something for it, and I don't know. I kind of don't think so at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still hopeful that'll happen, but they're taking their sweet time putting Activision stuff on Game Pass in general. I mean, who knows? I assume the thing is, I think it is been like what close to one ABK game in Game Pass a month. The last one was the Crash Bandicoot racing game. I mean, they're gonna have to like put some new things in there. I'm still holding out hope for Transformers. Like I know that Wolverine Origins, that doesn't have a snowball's chance in hell of ever making it. But Deadpool, maybe. Transformers, I'm leaning 50-50. But yeah, I can't give up hope. Plus, I have two copies literally right next to me, sealed. Right, if they put them on the store, I will buy them digitally and I can maybe
Same.
frame these. But it's just tiring. They have to get on with this, or at least let us know. Hell, I would take just a blog post saying, "Hey, they're coming at some point." That's all I want to know. You know,
Yeah, just even a Jason or whoever else works with, Cloud or BC or what's left of the team just put out a post and said, "Hey, we know you guys have been really hopeful or waiting for some titles from this catalog. Yes, it is happening, and we will have more in the near future. Or, stay tuned for this summer or this holiday or something." Like, even that, like, just give people some hope. Or, if it's just not going to happen, at least be courteous enough to just put out something that said, yes, it's just not going to happen. We know why a lot of people believed it would, and it logically makes sense, but for reasons, it's just not going to. Just be man enough to say either way.
yeah. And when it comes to the older Call of Duty stuff, I'll be honest, right? I love Call of Duty campaigns. I adore first person shooter campaigns. I think it's like a lost art form. Next to nobody makes them now. Um,
Agreed.
but like I have missed out on a few Call of Duty campaigns. One of them being Ghosts. Uh,
Oh, that one's good.
yeah,
I know people hate it, but I
yeah,
actually am one of the 12 people who like that one.
yeah. Well, that came out, at the launch of the Xbox One. That's when I was on the Battlefield side of things. And that game was broken beyond anything. Um, I'm still salty about how I couldn't save my campaign. Bloody hell. But yeah, Call of Duty Ghosts. Like I refuse to pay the price that is on the store still. And by the way, a lot of Activision does this, and I think they do it on PlayStation as well, and probably Steam. Is that they removed the original version of the game, and there's just the deluxe version, which costs like £60 or something. And I'm not buying a 10-year-old, 12-year-old Call of Duty game for next to the price of a new game. I'm just not doing it. I also didn't get to play Black Ops 3 campaign, which everyone hates, but I still want to play at some point. And also, what's it called? Vanguard. I never got to play Vanguard's campaign when that came out 3 years ago, I think. So yeah, I just want to play more of these games. I'm not paying. Like, look, I buy a lot of games each year. I refuse to pay next to full price for ancient Call of Duty games. It's not happening at all,
Yeah, can
ever.
I add something?
Yeah,
Sorry, I know we are done with price, but like as much crap as we've been given Take Two about it, yeah, the Activision's pricing on these games is egregious and outrageous. Like Call of Duty games that were 360 and Xbox One simultaneous launches, like there are versions of both, should not be in the year 2025, should not still be like $100 editions or $50 or 40 something on sale. Like, get out of here with that. Like, it is egregious. Like, I've even brought it up to people, and then people just don't talk about it for some reason. But it's just, I don't know. It seems money, like, I don't know. Just like what we said with Take Two, it's egregious. Like y'all are quit playing. Like it's like the Nintendo first party tax.
Yeah.
Like thou shalt not hit below $30 ever for a first party title, even on sale a decade later. It's like, come on now. Like who are we fooling here?
Yeah, I just checked the prices of Call of Duty Ghosts. $60. $60 for a 12.
And the season pass is like insane too.
Yeah, and the UK price is $54.99. So they've dropped it £5 since it came out. Oh no,
That's a sick joke.
no, not if I'm looking at this correctly. If I remember correctly, I think Call of Duty Ghosts in the UK launched at £50. So they may have increased the price. Yeah,
That's a sick joke.
yeah. Microsoft, put them on Game Pass, please. Jesus Christ, like that is egregious. But yeah, hopefully we see the ABK stuff soon. But it does look like it's going to be once a month or once a quarter. Unfortunately, for now. Anyway, we'll move on. You know what? We'll
Crash
talk.
Wars rumored
Yeah.
this month.
You know what? We'll talk about this. Avowed and South of Midnight previews are going live. There's a really great preview live on Boomstick's channel. Highly recommend it. He's had a chance to play the game basically. That game, South of Midnight, that game looks beautiful. It's got the stop motion art style. You can turn it off, by the way. I know some people don't like it. Although I grew up on Wallace and Gromit, so I like it. But yeah, the story looks great. It's about a 12-hour campaign. Smooth gameplay, 60 frames per second. It looks really good. I don't know much about the Deep South in the US, but it looks really cool. There's a giant talking catfish. What can go wrong? Everything I've heard about South of Midnight and seen, it looks great. But the one I'm majorly interested in, and I'm interested in both, is Avowed. I absolutely adore role-playing games. And, Obsidian, they never miss. They've had some games better than others, but when it comes to fantasy, I think they really know what they're going to be doing. And everything I've seen and heard about this game, it looks phenomenal. And look, the funny thing is, every post I've made on Twitter about Avowed has one particular reply: 30 FPS.
PlayStation win.
Well, that as well. But like 30 FPS, every single post talking about frame rate. And then one of the developers or the writers comes out the other day on the MinMax show and talks about how there's 30, 40, and 60 frames mods. So like all the guff I've gotten for the past year talking about Avowed, all for nothing. Like, and by the way, this is gonna get me in some trouble. I don't care at this point. If a game is 30, I kind of shrug and think, oh well, and I move on with the rest of my day. Some people lose their marbles when they hear 30 frames per second. But hey, that's just me. I know, Logan, you played, I think, Jedi Survivor at 30 as well, right?
Yeah, like I will, you know what? I will just grab the megaphone and make a PSA. I play games generally in quality, like visual quality, 30 FPS or 60 instead of, 120. Like whatever makes it the prettier, shinier version is generally what I play, with rare exceptions, because I like the visual experience, like especially some of these worlds like Jedi Survivor. My goodness, what a
Yeah.
gorgeous game. And the character models, the animations, the chef's kiss, like Coruscant and, all these other places you go. It was just it was gorgeous. And it's like, you know what? I'm having a great time playing this. I ain't having problems. Like, so what if it's 30 versus 60? I know there are people who are FPS snobs. I'm a 4K snob. That's my snob thing. But, you know, it's okay. It is definitely not a deal breaker for me if a game is 30 versus 60 or 120. Like, we talk about retro games all the time. Like, before I was immersed in Twitter, the only FPS I knew about was first person shooter. I didn't know jack about frames per second or, all these other terminologies that I've learned from following gaming over the, you know, time I've been on Twitter now and other stuff. But yeah, it doesn't bother me at all. Like I'm stoked for Avowed and South of Midnight.
Yeah, the frame rate thing, that's all sorted now. And the whole if you have a 120 hertz television, you can play it 40 frames per second. Um, I think that like Avowed, it looks fantastic. I love region or hub based RPGs. I think we don't get many. Um, Funny thing is, the other day I tweeted how there aren't many hub based RPGs. Literally, someone replied saying, "Well, Jamie, you mustn't play many games because recently, Eternal Strands launched." And it's like that's not even an RPG. So what are you talking about? Um, but
Yeah.
I swear to God, people have to complain about everything I write. Everything like region-based RPGs are rare. We don't get them much. But when I have to, bring out Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3 and Dragon Age 1 and 2, yeah, we're scraping the bottom of the barrel, right? We don't get them that often. The Witcher 2, Fable 1 through 3, Deus Ex Human Revolution and Mankind Divided, Dragon Age The Veilguard even. But, like, we don't get them often. And I think, when it comes to an RPG like this, people seem kind of confused by it, I've noticed. You know, it's a 30-hour RPG, 30-plus hour RPG, and people in my replies say, "Oh, that's a short game." I'm sorry, but are we really going to live in a world where we're just going to pretend 30-plus hour RPGs never existed? The Witcher 2: Assassins of Kings is an incredible RPG. Deus Ex: Mankind Divided, A Human Revolution, incredible game. But yeah, using the term region-based RPG and 30-hour RPG, people take it too literal. I've noticed, whenever someone uses the term 30-hour RPG, like a developer or anyone in general, they don't literally mean only 30 hours. Like everything you do in the game, everything, collectibles, side quests, 30 hours. Like that's not what it is. Like a Mass Effect is a 30-hour RPG, but I put 55 hours into it every single time I play it. And I've played that first game 11 plus times. So, like, don't take it too literal. But the game looks fantastic. It's got free range combat. You can mix and match different player types. So if you want to have two pistols, you can do that. You can have a pistol in one hand with magic. You can have a pistol in a wand because spells work differently depending on which kind of magic you use. You can use two axes, which apparently is an OP build in the game, which now I really want to try out. But knowing me, I'm going to do what I did in Skyrim. Magic in one hand, sword in the other.
Yep.
It's a fun way. If people haven't played Skyrim that way, it's such a power trip. I absolutely yeah. Mass Effect was Game of the Year 2007. That's a fact. But like that is such a fun way to play Skyrim, and this looks like that. And look, I can't say specific things about Avowed, but the stuff I've heard about this game, it could be a lot of people's Game of the Year. What else can I say? It looks phenomenal, sounds phenomenal, and that game has came a long way. When we first saw gameplay, I think early 20, not mid 2023, I thought the game looked fantastic, but there was a lot of people saying it looked kind of jank. Visually, it looks a lot better than it did then, and graphically, it's came a long way. Like it's using Unreal Engine 5.3 and all the latest features. There's so much detail in the environment and characters and basically all the assets in the game. It looks like a really good game. Like Logan, have you got anything else to say on Avowed before we change topics?
Just that I'm super excited for it. Got my Steelbook edition coming. Like Obsidian is one of the rare devs I'm a day one for, no matter what, because I just trust them, and they've never done me wrong. They've always done incredible. Like even their quote worst game, Alpha Protocol, was fun and had some really cool ideas. Yes, it had serious jank and some cringe dialogue here and there, but overall, like it was a fun, enjoyable experience. Like, and that was their worst game. Like they are a master class powerhouse RPG studio who just so happens to be able to expand their wheelhouse and do games like Grounded and Pentiment and all this other stuff as well. Like Obsidian, day one for me, 100%.
Yeah, it looks really good. And the funny thing is, right, I didn't want to bring this up, but I will, just to get it out of the way. Um, there's been like this weird like backlash against the game since it was announced, and it's kind of gotten worse over time. And like everything I've seen about the game, everything I've heard about the game, like I think everyone's gonna enjoy it. Just put it that way. Trying to not say specific things. Um, Oh, and they did say that they're not sure if there's going to be DLC for the game. So I think depending on how well it does out the gate, we could see expansions. Um, I mean, I'm all for single player expansions, so why not? But yeah, this looks like a solid RPG. I think it's a good way to kick off 2025 for the first party studios. Anyway, we'll move on. You know what? We'll talk about this because I kind of like bait people with this on Twitter as a joke, and I think some people kind of get angry about it. And that's Final Fantasy. Like, look, Square Enix have came out time and time again talking about how they're bringing more games to Xbox platforms, and we've just been waiting. There's been no word in sight, and for years we originally thought, look, snowballs chancing hell that Final Fantasy VII Remake comes to Xbox. We kind of both deal with it in the same way. It's like, with 16, we kind of both thought it would happen, just eventually. And, with all the rumors and stuff, and, take it with a grain of salt, but when the rumors come from specific places, you kind of have to believe them sometimes, whether you like them or not. Um, it looks like we are getting multiple Final Fantasy games on Xbox this year. And my prediction has been, Final Fantasy 16 is going to be announced at the Xbox partner preview in March. Excuse me. And we'll have Final Fantasy VII Remake announced during the Xbox Summer Showcase for later in the year. And I'm sticking to that. You know what, Logan? I'm actually choking here. So, can you talk about what's your stance on the whole situation with Final Fantasy this year? Because again, I'm choking.
Yeah, I mean, we'll give Jamie a moment to compose himself. I know Final Fantasy is just something that is near and dear to his heart. He gets really emotional about it. Um, That's like I know he's just choking up on the inside, just ready to give his take on it. But um, never fear, I'm here. Yeah, I think we'll be getting 16 very soon. Imminent would probably be too strong of a word, but I think within the first quarter of this year, if not early summer, we are getting 16. And especially in that sweet spot to try to avoid, the GTA 6, just ominous presence that everybody's waiting on. And I think 7 is coming, and I think 7, the first part of the trilogy, will be late this year, holiday, and then the second one will be next year. Could be wrong, but that's my tentative guess. And I don't know. I think going forward, they've committed to being multi-platform. They've they've been all in on the cloud stuff and play
Yeah.
anywhere. Like if you look at all the titles that are in there, a huge chunk of them are from Square Enix of all people. And people are like, "Wait, didn't these guys hate Xbox's guts like 5 years ago?" It's like, yeah, well, I guess, strange times makes different bedfellows and new friends and all that. And, their change of leadership, change of styles, perspective, and priorities. And I think they're just going to get them out as soon as possible to Xbox so that they can just wash that slate clean and move forward 100% multi-plat. And I think it's coming and coming soon. And I can't wait till it happens. And until then, you're still going to be seeing moth gifts every night until about every night until it happens.
Yeah, I mean, another thing I thought is that you know, and I may have mentioned it last week. I can't remember. Like the Nintendo Direct in April is going to be massive because they're showing off the brand new
Oh yeah.
console. And like, if you were going to announce the 7 remake is going elsewhere, you would do it there, like first, realistically, because there's good. I can't. That that trailer had like 20 million views in 12 hours, right?
Good grief.
So how many people are they going to have watching their live stream? I bet Square Enix would pay a pretty penny to have maybe a 1 minute trailer for Final Fantasy VII Integrate, announced for Switch. Maybe for like November or something, and it'll be huge. And then 10 minutes will pass. You open up Twitter, and then you'll see the little Xbox logo on the Square Enix trailer. Like that's realistic. I think that's something we could see. I think that there's probably a bunch of developers, they are saving their games to be shown off at the Direct for the Switch, because that Switch is meant to be pretty powerful. It's basically going to be a PlayStation 4 Pro in the form of a handheld. That it's going to be a very capable console. We're going to see a lot of ports for that thing. I mean, hell, if they can bring the Witcher 3 to the first Switch, I think you're going to be fine with games on this. And yeah, Call of Duty. I'd be shocked if Call of Duty Black Ops 6 isn't at that show. Like, I would bet a pretty large sum of money on that we will see, Black
There'll
Ops.
be a COD match.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there hasn't been a Call of Duty on Nintendo since, I want to say, Ghosts on the Wii U.
Wii U.
Yeah, so it's been a long time. I mean, hell, that version's still probably full price too. But
yeah, probably.
I mean, that's a Nintendo game and a Call of Duty game. That's a double whammy. That's full price still, probably. But yeah, I mean, it looks like it's going to be a good year for Final Fantasy fans on Xbox. I mean, because look, I love the franchise. I keep trying to sell people on Crisis Core Reunion at every opportunity, and let me tell you, people aren't having it. I get the same reply every time, and I understand it. I want to play the remake. I want to know it's coming, and that makes sense because it's a bloody prequel. I mean, hell, the game ends with a cutscene from the remake. like, by the way, I think I've mentioned it before, but not in a while. I was playing Crisis Core Reunion when that came out. I think I got it for Christmas, and I was playing Crisis Core Reunion at like 3 or 4 in the morning. And when I saw that cutscene after the credits, my jaw hit the floor. I felt so insulted. Like, you showed me, you showed me the cutscene to a game I can't play on the console I'm playing the prequel to. I was offended. It was like, how dare you do this to me? You blue-balled me, right? And you did this to me. I'm not happy. But hey, it looks like it's coming. The interesting thing is that it looks like the Crisis Core is set, I want to say 10 years, 5 to 10 years before the remake, and I loved Crisis Core. It's we'll call it a 20-hour JRPG. I finished it in 18 hours, and it's phenomenal. It's absolutely phenomenal. In fact, on the scaling of Final Fantasy games, I'm putting it out there. I think Crisis Core Reunion might be top 3 for me. 10 at number 1. I have this unforgiving nostalgia for Final Fantasy X.
Same.
I love 10. Its vibe. For some reason, the whole game feels like it's set on a beach. You have a summon in the 10th game where you basically pay this thing money, and it will just randomly generate a move. So like, you could just go completely broke in that game, spend it on moves, and sometimes get nothing out of it. But I love Final Fantasy X. 7, the original 7, that game is just timeless. You could buy it right now. It was on sale recently for, I think, like £5 in the UK. Final Fantasy 7, it's good. It's good. Even though you have, Cloud, which basically has, rectangles for hands, because, that's what they could do back then. But yeah, we've had Crisis Core gameplay going during the show, and Logan, did you get to play Crisis Core?
I never did. I thought about picking it up on the PSP back in the day, but then I didn't. And then, it came to Xbox, and I got excited. But I'm in that camp that I was waiting until 7.
Yeah.
because I'm like, no, you ain't blue balling me on this game. I'm waiting until 7 happens for sure before I buy this. Because otherwise, it's just this unfulfilled dream, and you're just sitting in the rain, and it's just sad. So, I I do want to get it, and I do want to play it, and I'll put it out there as soon as 7 is announced. That'll up to the top of my shopping list. The not tactics. What am I talking about? Rebirth, and I'm excited for it. And speaking of that, do you think they'll ever bring Dirge of Cerberus back? Because that's another Final Fantasy VII spinoff.
Was that the PlayStation 2 game?
I believe so. It's the one where you play as Vincent, and it's like a shooter, but it's Final Fantasy. It's
Yeah.
like crazy.
Yeah, I think that was the PlayStation 2. I mean, I hope so. That was a weird game. That came out in that weird period where, Square Enix was clearly wanting to sell people on nostalgia, so they were just diving into Final Fantasy VII. We had Children, Advent Children, the movie, Crisis Core on PSP, Dirge of Cerberus on PlayStation 2. By the way, I don't know why I mentioned this story. Like, Logan, have you ever seen Advent Children, Final Fantasy VII?
Yes, I have.
Right. It's a completely out there story. It doesn't make a lot of sense, especially if you've never played 7. It doesn't make any sense. You have clones, you have people that look like Sephiroth, you have Sephiroth coming back. It doesn't make sense, right? I once made a girlfriend watch that film. Like the DVD or the Blu-ray came with a 20-minute interlude of explaining the story of 7, and I was like, no, you've got to watch this. It's going to be amazing. And then we watched it. She had no idea what was going on. Even I didn't know what was going on, and I was a huge fan of 7. But yeah, note to people: don't make girlfriends or boyfriends watch Advent Children. That doesn't make sense, especially if they've never played the game. But yeah, Crisis Core Reunion. If Square Enix is smart, they should really, put it on sale. The second remake's announced for Xbox. Put Crisis Core, 50% off or whatever. That is one of the few games where the Xbox One version and the Series version are different bundles. So you have Crisis Core Reunion, and that's Xbox One, and then you have Crisis Core Reunion Deluxe Edition, which is the next gen version. So yes,
That's a troll move.
yeah, it's one of the few games that do that, and they aren't even separate achievement lists from what I know of, so you can't even double dip. Thankfully, there are developers kind of stepping away from that, but yeah, Square Enix was one of the last few developers that did that. But anyway, Square Enix, if they listen to this, put Crisis Core on sale. Even maybe make a Game Pass deal or something. Just get people play Crisis Core. I've been talking about Crisis Core for bloody 10 minutes. Anyway, we'll move on. I think it's just going to be an exciting year for JRPGs and Xbox because, around the corner you have the Sudoku. I can't pronounce that word, by the way. Suikoden, that's it. The Suikoden remasters come out next month, which look very promising. There's a JRPG coming out later this year on Xbox called Threads of Time. It's a 2.5D JRPG set across like 5 centuries, and every like other chapter is set in a different time period. So you have an apocalyptic setting. There's a setting that looks like it's from cyberpunk, or cyberpunk setting, and there's like a fantasy setting with airships. It looks like it's going to be a solid JRPG. And there's another one coming out later this year called Lost Helden. It's a PlayStation 1 style JRPG, and it looks phenomenal. But yeah, if you're a JRPG fan on Xbox this year, you're getting a bunch of good stuff. It all looks good. Now,
Lunar is coming soon, I believe. And there was also a randomly Sega renewed the trademark for Skies of Arcadia.
oh yeah, I mean, who knows if that'll get a remake or something. I mean, it's all up in the air. I do think we're at a point now where it's been long enough that you're going to have these publishers, reach back into their back catalogue because Yeah, I use Resident Evil as an example. Resident Evil has been a huge success, especially for Capcom over the past what 8 years, 9 years since Seven came out. Capcom is in a way better position as they were then. But like they must be scraping the bottom of the barrel when it comes to Resident Evil, right? Resident Evil 9 is going to be the next one. They can basically remake, 5, 6, Veronica, and Zero
Zero.
on the train, but there's like 5 of us fans on Earth of that game. Um, but like at some point, and maybe I'm port begging here, they have to reach into their back catalogue and make a horror game that isn't Resident Evil. You have Dino Crisis, right? It's been long enough that these old IPs can basically come back and be new IPs for most people, because there's generations of people that have never played these games. Parasite Eve for Square Enix. Most people have never played that game. I want to play that game. We're at a point now where, like, you could say these companies are creatively bankrupt. Maybe they are, but like reaching back into their back catalogs with IP, I mean, that's kind of a win for everyone. We're going to see a lot of cool stuff coming out, and it's an exciting time, Logan, have you got anything else to say before we close out the show?
Oh yeah, just on the Dino Crisis thing, 100%. Like I would that Parasite Eve games like that. I would even just take straight ports for now, just something. But yeah, Capcom especially owes fans after that troll job they did with Exo Primal, where you have Regina's doppelganger in the game and the trailer and everything, and you make everybody think you're doing a Dino Crisis game. There's dinosaurs in it, and then lo and behold, it's a multiplayer shooter thing. And it's an okay game, and I know people enjoy it, but it wasn't the Dino Crisis game people thought they were gonna get. And come on now, it's long enough. We can have dinosaurs in a horror game again.
Yeah, I mean, look, Resident Evil's huge. There's going to be a new film based on the video games. By the way, Logan, did you ever watch the last Resident Evil film, the end of the quadrilogy or whatever it's called, the final chapter?
No, I saw all the other ones though. I missed that one.
Okay, well, you haven't missed out much. That was absolute trash. That, for people in chat, if you've never watched Resident Evil, the final chapter, my God, like, there's a reason you don't see Resident Evil fan sites or like fan accounts talk about that film, because they basically brought back a bunch of actors from the previous movies and thought, look, the Resident Evil games, they're popping off. We want some nostalgia. And they released this film that tried to tie together about 19 different storylines in like an hour and 40 minutes or something. It is absolute garbage fire. And then they released that new reboot film. Did you ever watch that, Logan? The reboot?
Yeah, that I did. It was interesting.
Interesting, but still not that good. I mean, the fact that they rebooted it
Yeah.
again, it just goes to show like they really need. Should it really be that hard to make a Resident Evil movie? Like, you just take the second game, make the film set in a police station. Like, is that really that difficult? I don't think so.
It's virus zombies. It's not that difficult.
Yeah, but Resident Evil's popped off for a long time now. Like, Dino Crisis, it needs its time to shine. I can only post the clip port begging for Dino Crisis to come back so many times. I'll continue to do it, but my point is, Dino Crisis, it's just, they have a very cool horror IP sitting right there, and they're not doing anything with it. And that really annoys the hell out of me. Like,
Same.
it literally, for people that haven't played, Dino Crisis is literally a Resident Evil game, but instead of zombies, you have velociraptors. Like, the
And
game,
T Rex.
yeah, in a T-Rex, the scene on the train, like, it's an epic game. And then you have Dino Crisis 3, where that's a sci-fi third-person shooter, basically.
They lost their minds with that one. Like I have no idea.
Yeah, like, I wish I checked forums out at the time, because you know how people lose their mind when games sort of deviate from the tradition of like what they are.
Yeah.
Like Halo fans lose the marbles over like a blade of grass changing, but like they went from like horror interesting like game from one. There was more action in two, basically in cutscenes, but it was still a horror game. And then you have the third Dino Crisis game, which is set in space on a massive starship, where you basically play as this dude in power armor. Like it's basically an anime sci-fi movie, but with dinosaurs. It doesn't make any sense. They deviated from a horror game so much that it may as well not even be called Dino Crisis. But yeah, I'm just happy to see a bunch of these games come back. Capcom, they'll get on it eventually. It's just the years are getting on. It's 2025. I want Dino Crisis right now, today. And hell, I'll take even ports of the originals, because those games are on PlayStation Network, whatever the service is called, and they're on GOG. You can buy the collection in GOG. So they're sitting on a hard drive somewhere. Let us buy them. I'll buy them today. Why not? But yeah, everyone in chat has been amazing. We still had a bunch of topics left, but we'll talk about them next week. It wasn't really some time-related stuff. I will say this. If people watch my content, you may have noticed there's not a particular video that went live last week. Due to the bronchitis, absolute shocker to people I know. I keep losing my voice. I do 2 podcasts on a Tuesday, and whenever the podcast's done, I literally lose my voice. It's been an ongoing process with the bronchitis. I'm still really sick, still trying to get there. But if someone told me, that bronchitis could last this long and be this bad, I would have laughed. But it's awful. And that's why certain videos aren't up yet. And hopefully we'll get out this week. Videos coming out from later in this month. Going forward, we'll be out on time. All that stuff. We'll be back for a new episode of All Things Xbox Podcast next week. Same time, usual. When it comes to the State of Play thing, I was wanting to stream it. There's going to be a bunch of, licensed music during it. And I'm still not sure about, covering something live with a bunch of licensed music. I'll figure it out. I'll let people know. But anyway, our socials in the description down below. Twitter, all that stuff. I do Blue Sky and Twitter and Threads. It's a bit of a process doing all 3, because, I've been posting on Twitter since 2012, and I've been using Twitter since about 2007. So, like, when I use a different social media, I kind of just get a bit, my brain turns to scrambled egg. Like trying to run multiple different accounts. It's all over the place. Anyway, Logan, it's been great talking with you once again. We'll be back same time next week. More videos coming soon, and also some experimental stuff. And I also have Let's Plays planned coming soon, because I have a capture card planned to come. It's going to be cool. I've got some cool stuff planned. And I also want to do a full-on Let's Play of the entire Mass Effect trilogy. I've been planning this for like a year. Got some cool ideas for it. I think people enjoy it. Anyway, good stuff coming. We are out, everybody. Peace.